Hello, everyone. Welcome Saturday afternoon. This is the first of the monthly meetings for Guilds of Requiem. My name is Robin Kearney Frazier. We have with us Mikey Gravely and Heather Roche. We're going to be doing the Homesteaders and Preppers Guild. At 4 o'clock will be Space Station Requiem. 5:30 is our executive. We do take a supper break in there from 5 until 5:30. 5:30 is the executive meeting. Can get kind of boring, but we also have a lot of BSing time in there. It's kind of real good for everything. At 6 p.m. is Requiem's Events of Texas, and 7 p.m. is the general meeting. And as you can tell, I'm prepared for Halloween. We're going to go over some general updates, and then our presentation this week is on preserving without power. We have a Facebook account, we have IG, we have, you gals probably aren't aware of this, but we have a MeWe, but there's nobody in it. I hardly ever post on it because there's hardly any engagement on it, like worse than Facebook engagement. And then we also have a Nextdoor account, and a trend that I've been seeing is people are wanting to get off of social media. So I put a poll out there, and a lot of people said yes, if we turn the group features on the website, they'll start using it, you know, kind of give us a heads up there's something there. Generally, when you're subscribed to the website, that just gets you for the Agrarian Guild, it gets you our monthly newsletter. You have to actually join the website to be able to comment on any of the blog posts or to participate in the group's features. I do go in and approve those new memberships as they come in. I kind of watch for any email addresses that look like they might be a little bit scammy or not quite sure. And I'll send an email out to them. So if you joined and you didn't get a response within the first 48 hours, please check your junk mailbox, because sometimes our customer service at guildsofrequiem.com does land in that box for some reason. We're not quite sure what's going on or what's happened with it. Google says I have to use it more, and it'll do that less. So we'll see. It's the future rolls on. We do have planning for the 2025 Homesteaders and Preppers Bazaar out there. If you're on any of our groups or our pages, you are going to see the advertisements starting to become more frequently. Right now, we are opened up for vendors and presenters. I think we'll end up with about 15 spots, maybe 20. We do have a couple people that are taking up 10 by 20s. And we do need to have a space for our presentation canopies. We are working up front, and most of November, Matt has taken off so that we can work on stuff around the property and work around up front. So if at any time you have a day off in November, check with us, see if we're going to already be up there. If Matt's not home, I can at least go up there so you're not up there alone. We do have a strict rule of nobody is to be working up front unless Matt or myself is present. A lot of that is just a safety precaution. That, and it's never a good idea to be using power tools alone without somebody there to, you know, just in case. You know, that would be bad planning and prepping on anyone's part to do that. So remember that when you're using power tools at home, make sure somebody knows you are. Looking for fundraising ideas. Right now on the Guilds of Requiem, guildsofrequiem.com/shop, we do have a guilds tab. And just a second here. I gotta reshare my screen, ladies, sorry. Gonna take away from that. Come on, man. Online shopping, there we go. As you can see, we have a lot of categories that we've been working on. Trying to think where I put in clothing. I don't think I have one specifically for the Homesteaders and Preppers. That's kind of what I'm looking at, is what would we like to do. See here. No, I don't have it anywhere fast. But yes, we do have a full, all of these were created by myself. Some of them were using AI. So if you haven't checked out the website, please do. Yeah, I don't see it. There we go. Back to up where we belong. But I'm open to any ideas. Before I create a category for the Homesteaders and Preppers or Agrarian Guild in general. Do you ladies have any thoughts? No? Did I put you on the spot?
Well, see, and also too, it's like anything that I could think of for like homesteaders and preppers,
Mm-hmm.
would be things like seeds and, you know, aquaponics and things like
Yeah.
that. And I don't know if that's something that would
We
be
do
profitable for us.
have, we do have affiliate links on the website. There it is. So we do have links to a lot of people. A lot of these we do get, you know, if people follow the links from here, we do get a percentage of the sales. We get paid per click.
Okay.
On some of them, I tried to notate which ones we actually get that. I do use Murray McMurray Hatchery for chickens. They do not have an affiliate program as of yet. So as soon as they have one roll out, they'll let us know. Yeah, this is just different courses. Those are our event, part of our vendors guild. All of these we do get kickbacks from. We get their monetized links.
Okay.
We are monetized links with all of these. So there are seeds on here. Yeah, the first 4 are seeds. And then we have Terraganics, which is a EM company. What is going on
Okay.
here? Oh, come on, man. I scrolled on the wrong thing. So yeah, we do have, there it goes. We do have Homesteading. Barrel House is a local feed store. They are in the process. This is basically the Old Farmer's Almanac. That's their website. So they do not have an affiliate program as of yet, but I do have a link there because it is a lot of information that is good for homesteaders.
Okay.
Hill Country Preppers is a part of our network. San Antonio PrepperNet is a part of our network. These 2 are vendors. West Texas Pathfinders is a part of our network. Yeah, and that's all I have right now, but we do have affiliate links. Some of them are monetized. I am looking at having the seed swap again. I'm hoping maybe we can get the ladies that did it at the Kerrville Expo.
That would be awesome.
Seeing if we can reach out to them and let them handle the seed swap table.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like super thirsty today. We are in need of volunteers with opening up the groups on the website. We do need some group admin moderators, and mostly you're just making sure that they're following our rules. No politics, no bullshit, no fighting, no name calling. Keeping it safe for work. All of our websites are family friendly. So I understand some adult topics will happen, but they're not going to happen on my website. That's what it amounts to, because we don't know if somebody's sitting there, maybe got their kids sitting there with them to learn something. And, you know, then the kids see something that mom and dad aren't quite ready for. I do need help with the website blogs, specifically general gardening. On the alternative gardening, I have been helping Joe Leverage with his book on aquaponics. And as I edit a section, I post it up onto the website. His goal is to have that information available for free. So that's why we're able to do this co-op. I will be putting information up there on aeroponics and hydroponics. and aquaculture. Texas really isn't a good place to be doing aquaculture because we're in the middle of a drought. That's where you raise fish and only fish. And Texas has a lot of rules on aquaculture, a lot of rules. We're looking for prepping in general. What's, if you're in the city, how do you prep how do you prep for being in the city, knowing that the chances are you're going to have to bug in because you can't get out. Depending on how quickly civil unrest comes, what do you plan on doing on securing your apartment against intruders? And of course, prepping out in the country is different than prepping in the city. And then we always need help with events, specifically with the Homesteaders and Preppers Bazaar. I need help finding presenters, getting flyers out to businesses, along with our contact information for possible sponsorships, and basically flyer distribution, the volunteer coordinating, all the usual suspects are open. As you can see, this is pretty much our core group. Matt's at work today. He ended up getting called in on his day off. So we're not arguing with that too much. But let me flip over to, that is everything I have. Did y'all have any questions on what I went through really fast? No, not really? Okay. Kind of one of the hazards of when it's everybody who talks all the time. We already know what's going on. So, this is actually a blog that I posted out earlier this month on food preservation techniques without power. I am very enthusiastic and ecstatic about making sure you practice your skills before you need your skills. So we are spoiled on electricity. We were talking earlier about Instapots. Great way to pressure cook. No power, guess what? No Instapot. I am looking for, I don't want to call it an old-fashioned pressure cooker, but I'm looking for an old-fashioned pressure cooker that I can put onto a fire, have the fire going in the fire pit outside. In one of our groups, I posted a link, some photos of where you can take burn barrels and make them into fire pits and, wood burning stoves and cook stoves and everything. So you want to be doing that before the shit hits the fan, before that hurricane warning goes out, before those tornadoes, before we're back into tornado season. Texas, we're starting to see winter weather more. We sat down and we looked at our notes the other day, and just about every single year in the last 5 years, we've had snow where we're at in Bandera. It may not have accumulated on the ground with the exception of 2021. Obviously, that's the second year most people don't want to talk about. But it was the year that, my ex-husband called me and he said, "I'm glad you had all these preps hiding in the garage, in the garage office." And I'm like, no, I took everything with me. No, I had left behind 8 5-gallon buckets of freeze-dried food. So that is what he survived on during the storm, and there was water in there and everything. So that was kind of one of those, oh, okay. But when I married my new husband, he's kind of like, oh, what are you doing that for? It's like, this is a way of life. This, we keep extra food on hand. We keep extra water on hand. Growing up in South Dakota, blizzards were going to happen. Losing power was going to happen. Having alternatives was definitely needed up there. And I brought that lifestyle with me when I moved to Texas. Can't begin to tell you how many arguments my ex and I got into because I went out and bought 4 cases of paper towels. 3 cases of toilet paper.
At least you were doing it when there wasn't a panic rush on it.
Well, this was Hurricane Brett was aiming for the Gulf Coast of Texas. And I will admit, I panicked a little. We had been living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And we gotten some extra money in, and I panicked. I had never been in a hurricane before.
Yeah,
So
you panicked.
yeah, I panicked. I didn't know what to
The
expect.
closest I ever came to my parents panicking, because I grew up in Corpus Christi, right on the coast,
Mhm.
was my mom going, okay, this looks like a hurricane may be coming in. It may hit us, it may not. We're just gonna go to Lavernia and go stay at Aunt Lydia's place for a week. And that was it. And
Yeah.
usually my dad stayed behind in case, things broke and he needed to, reboard windows and the like. So
Yeah, we worked law enforcement, so we really, we did send the boys with my former mother-in-law, and
yeah.
got them out of the area.
Mhm.
But we were both essential personnel, so we couldn't
Yeah.
leave. It's really tough when both of you are essential personnel and you've got two small kids.
Yeah.
And people ask, well, why don't you evacuate? Why don't you evacuate? Because when the shit hits the fan and there's people vandalizing places, who are you gonna call? Shit hits the fan and you get hurt, who are you gonna call?
Exactly.
Yep.
Some people have to stay behind for the safety of others, for the safety and well-being of others. But we did prep. Couple times it came in handy just because, there was a job loss involved, reduction in pay. We were able to go 6 months without having, with only going to the store to get milk and butter. I had everything else all prepped up and saved. So for us, for me specifically, it is a lifestyle. I know no other way of living than to be prepared.
Yeah.
And I will admit that I have been remiss in practicing my skills on canning and preserving food without power. That is definitely on my list to remedy. We have some financial changes coming towards our family that should make it easier for me to save up to be able to get the things that we're missing so that we can still survive without power.
That's what we're still working towards. Between my other half switching careers, so kind of starting at the bottom again. Me trying to get into a career after being a stay-at-home mom. Finances have been interesting
Yeah,
the past couple of years. So,
yeah. Yeah, we inherited some debt, and we're finally coming to a point in time that we are now stable enough on our income that we went to the bank and said, hey, bank, we need to, get all this excess stuff that we inherited under control. I will admit we lived credit card to credit card and paycheck to paycheck for a while because, when my father-in-law passed away, we lost one of our main source, our secondary source of income. So we had to contend with that and everything else. So, but as I alluded to earlier, if you don't have a pressure cooker, you don't have any power, you can't use your Instapot, get yourself a pressure cooker, get yourself a water bath canning, have canning jars and lids, go specifically for the higher quality ones. There are some cheap knockoffs out there. They have a high incidence of breakage.
yeah.
If you find mason jars or ball jars at an estate sale, snag them.
Yeah.
You can sterilize them and clean them. Snag
Chickens, water glass, the eggs.
them. Yep. So make sure
That's what
you've
I
got.
wanted to eventually. Haven't gotten it. That's something I'm gonna have to make space for, and I don't have time for yet.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Do.
So, and make sure you have the two-piece lids. They're two-piece lids. There's the fat lid with the rim and the gasket on it. And then there's the screw cap.
Yeah.
Okay. Use the screw cap only when you're canning. Once it's already gone ping, take that screw cap off. The reason that is, and I have a lot of people, no, you want to be able to see if rust has formed on that lid. You want to be able to see if in that headspace that you left, has it gotten moldy? Does it have some yuck on it? You want to be able to see your entire jar. And if you leave that ring on
Yeah.
there, you're not gonna see it, and it's gonna increase the chances of rust. I've got a bunch of rings right now. I've had them for 30 years, 35
Yeah.
years. The rings themselves are rusty, but every year I buy new lids because the rings don't stick.
The only time I say use both lids is if you aren't doing the heat canning. You're just putting cooked food into a jar and throwing it in the freezer. Then, you know,
Yeah.
just use.
Yeah, you'll want to do that because it's not the flat lid isn't going to have anything to attach to.
Yeah.
The only
That's so
time that the only
interesting.
time, yeah, the only time that I do keep the ring on it is if I'm selling it.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's
makes
a
sense.
health and safety practice that you have to follow. I do tell people, you know, hey, once you get it home, go ahead and pull that ring off so that you can see what the preserves and everything looks like inside it. And to have rings on hand for once you break that seal, you know, that you can now screw it back together so it doesn't fall all over the place and it stays self-contained. So
Yep.
that's kind of the only two times that I use the screw band is when I'm actually canning, if I've sold it or I've opened it. The second method that's as old as time, dehydrating your food. A lot of us have dehydrators that plug into the wall now and work on electricity, or some of us still might possibly use our ovens on low setting to dehydrate things.
Some brands of the instant pots have a dehydrate function. Mine does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Some of us have both and are possibly saving up for a freeze dryer. That's going to be a long one before I actually have a freeze dryer, but it is something that I'm holding out for. Being in Texas, South Texas. Huh?
Dots. Right, but they're close enough. They're flash.
Yeah. Being in South Texas, we have the benefit of being able to sun dry. We take old screens and clean them, make a drying rack out of them, and we put screen on the bottom, screen on the top. That helps keep some of the bugs off of it while it's dehydrating and out in the sun.
Yeah.
It depends on the food and the weather conditions. If it's humid, it's going to take longer to dry. If it's dry, we're having a dry heat, it's going to go easier. Air drying, you probably see these little cabinets where you've got sprigs of herbs all tied together and they're hanging, and you'll see where people have their onions braided together and everything like that. That is air drying. It's really good. It's best to have it in a well ventilated area so that you're getting constant airflow on it. It's not stagnating. It's better if you have dry air so that it reduces the chances of mold growing. Look up solar drying, especially in Texas. You know, if you've got sun, you can solar dry. It's simple as we have a paper box and we lined it with aluminum foil, and then we just put a piece of clear plastic on the top. And that's what we use to dehydrate out in the sun. Again, it's based on the food, how thick you cut it, go as thin as cut as possible, weather conditions, but it's generally faster than sun drying. Fermentation. This is one that I need to work on. I can make pickles. I can make pickles. That's not fermented. Des has offered to show me how to make sauerkraut one year. Matt loves sauerkraut. I grew up on sauerkraut. I'm not a fan.
I don't like the smell. I haven't even tried it. I'm just like, no.
You know, I'm from an Irish German family. Sausage and sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut was
a regular meal growing up.
Sauerkraut was the thing with both sets of grandparents. I still wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. To me, I just can't handle the smell either. We are looking at making our own yogurt. We go through a lot of Greek yogurt in our house. The Instapot does have a yogurt setting. So I have been eyeing that and eyeing ingredients. We're not a big eating family in this house, but Katie and I think all the kids eat cheese over at the other house. So I kind of want to learn how to make our own cheese. I
Yeah,
know I've been told it's easy as taking a pot of milk, heating it up, and putting some vinegar or lemon juice in it. I mean, it looks easy. I haven't tried it
force
yet.
it to curdle. You take the curds out and mold them together.
Yeah, don't you
And-
salt them too?
Huh?
You wash out all the whey, and then you salt it, and then you mold it. Squeeze all the
much.
excess water out.
That's the way I've seen. That's what cheesecloth was originally made for, was to
Plus
help squeeze
cheese.
the
Yep.
whey out of the curds.
That's where it comes from.
The actual starting of it doesn't seem. I mean, it doesn't look too terribly difficult.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just
it
time.
looks like, yeah,
Once you
it's
mold
just
it,
time. Yeah, but it is time that I want to start devoting to. That's kind of been one of the benefits of us going down to just 3 events per year, is we're not sitting there constantly having to worry about, I'm not having to constantly worry about that next market. I got, we had markets every weekend, then we went to markets every other weekend, and then we went to markets once a month. And people don't realize how much work is behind the markets in making them happen. Fermenting tea or fruit juice to make kombucha or hard cider. I'm not a big kombucha, but I do make hard cider once in a while. With all of the wild grapes that we have on property, we have looked at possibly making our own wine. And I will admit that I want to make the wine so I can turn around and make wine jelly out of it. Wine jelly is the biggest seller that I've ever had of all the things that I've made into jellies, jams, and preserves. Holiday peach preserves are popular, and all of my wine jelly is popular.
And that might actually be easier because I think, to me, it seems like it takes a whole lot to make wine to sell.
Well,
You have to have several bottles, whereas you could probably make more wine jelly with a smaller batch. That you probably wouldn't have enough to actually make a business out of for wine, but you can make it out of with wine jelly.
I don't have the licensing, so I don't sell it. I do barter for it. And I've been known to flat out give it away just because I don't want to have to go through the licensing process. You're using an alcohol to cook. You do have to be licensed in the state of Texas. If you're making for your own consumption of wine, beers, and meads, you don't need licensing. But as soon as you want to go sell that first drop, you do need to be licensed in the state of Texas.
That makes sense.
I'm gonna leave it right at there because I know there's people out there not licensed, but that's their choice. That's their chance they take. One thing that I am good at is smoking food. I love me a smoked turkey in the fall, and I do it low and slow. I'm not so big on the hot smoking. I do it because it cooks and preserves the food at the same time. I prefer cold smoking items, and that's basically you've got your smoke on one, you got your fire on one side, and you get your smoker, and it comes up to the other side. Or you have a smoker building, which is kind of my preference. Salting and brining. I love making me pickle. Guess that's kind of where, nope, pickling's further down. Salting and brining. Dry packing food in salt, soaking food in a saltwater solution. We have done that with carrots, and what else did we do? We did it with some beans and asparagus, and that went pretty good. The always popular root cellar. I wish it wasn't so expensive in Texas to have a root cellar. Because keeping food in a cool, dark environment can keep them fresh for months. We have talked about using cinder blocks to make a room to emulate a root cellar. root cellars are best for root vegetables and fruits. Pickling, now we're to pickling. My favorite part, pickling. I love making me pickles. Vinegar pickling is my favorite one. It's just vinegar and spices. Of course, I don't use peppers in mine for obvious reasons. I'm not a fan of pickled eggs or pickled pig's feet, but I know people who love them. Lacto fermentation, that's kind of up here with fermentation. It's pretty much the same process of to create pickles of a different flavor, sauerkraut and kimchi. So those are the quick breakdown of the different methods. Kind of gonna bring it back around. These you do not have to necessarily have power for. You know, yes, modern life says we can plug it in and make it work. But take the time to practice doing this without power. Go out and build yourself a fire pit or your grill or whatever. Have your stainless steel pot that you can cook your food on. You know, how to reduce it down, how to can it, water bath it, get a pressure canner for the stove. They have them stainless steel. You'll need that for your meats and other low acidic foods. You know, make sure you already have a stash of jars and lids before it hits the fan, because you can't run to the store to buy some more. I know a lot of my friends have like sections of shelves that are just all full of empty glassware. So I know you ladies hear me talk about this a lot, but can you think of any questions that someone might have?
Oh, I'm sure I have a lot of questions, because growing up, the only way my mother canned was with the pressure cooker on the stove. So obviously, you know, I don't know how to do any of that without power. So it's like, I definitely need to learn how to do a lot of this. And when you were talking about not keeping the ring on, it's so interesting, because growing up, we weren't allowed to take that ring off unless we were opening that jar.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I see people do that, and I'm like, oh my God, my grandmother, mom, would have a fit. But it is
that used to be the big argument between my mom, my grandparents, and my great grandparents.
Exactly.
The great grandparents are like, you know, if you're using the older ones, sometimes that ring is what helps keep the seal, because there's no gasket on that lid.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was.
And this is the era of where that headspace would get filled with wax. You know, instead of using thermodynamics to seal the jar, they would just pour melted wax on the top, put their lid on while it was still hot, and then twist it closed, and that's how they would seal their jars.
Right.
So then you started getting into the era of the pop tops. Well, you still kind of have that old mentality of you have to have the ring to keep the seal. You know, even though they started coming out in the 60s and 70s with that gasket on there, you still have you still have the mentality of the 40s and 50s of where they were using wax to, you know, actually 50s and earlier, where they were using wax as a part of their canning process.
Yeah.
So you have to get past their mentality. Then you get into our generation where, and you know, even my kids do not know of canning, any other way of canning than the lids with the gaskets on them. So they know, hey, you've got to take that ring, you know, it's going to be sealed, it's going to be tight. I mean, if you got to take a knife or something to pop that seal, it doesn't have to have a ring. But if you don't have to take something to break a vacuum seal, have a ring on it. You've opened it. There's no way to put a vacuum seal back on it. Put the ring on it. It now needs to go in the refrigerator. And then now it has a shorter time limit before it's bad. But yeah, I have found that if you can pressure canning, like I said, you had a stovetop pot. So anything that you can do on a stovetop, you can take out and put on your fire pit. You just have to adjust how high you are away from the flames. for consistent heat. Make sure you're down to your embers and not flames, because the embers are going to stay warmer longer. That's, going back to your bushcrafting skills on how to make a proper fire. I need to work on that, because I'm not saying lighter fluid is my friend for starting a fire, but lighter fluid is my friend for starting a fire. I've lost that skill. I need to go back to getting that skill set again. But yeah, anything that you can do on a stove top, you can do over flame. You can do over a propane cooker. The hazard of using a propane cooker to can and otherwise preserve your food is you are taking away from the fuel you may need to cook the food.
Right.
Canning beans can take a long time. You just put beans, rinse them, soak them, put the beans in the jar, put water, maybe a little bit of salt, depending on your preference, leave your headroom, put it on, put it in the pressure cooker, and you've got canned beans. It'll look and look like the store, may taste better than the store. The first time I canned beans, let's just say the black beans turned out into black muck because I thought I had to cook the beans first before I canned the beans.
Gotcha.
Not realizing that in the canning process, the beans are being cooked or partially cooked. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing in November is we're going to can a bunch of beans. I got a great deal on some northern beans, and we've got chickpeas and we've got black beans. I'm going to start stockpiling on red beans. So that's what we're doing in November, Miss Mikey.
Okay.
I know she wants to learn her practicing. I do have a vacuum sealer for jars for stuff that's dry seal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I'm actually looking at prices for pressure canners and stuff like that. You want a really cute pink one?
no,
$500?
no,
Oh, you're crazy.
I just want a stainless steel one, no bells, no whistles. Got the safety valve on it, got the clamps, because I don't want, I don't want to watch my pot go nuclear. That is one of the hazards if you go resale shopping or rummage selling or estate sales. If you are getting a pressure cooker from there, be very careful. Monitor your pressure, because they do not have the safety devices built in to stop it from blowing its top and doing a lot of damage. I don't want to scare people.
You have to be careful, though.
You have to be careful. You cannot set it and forget it. This isn't a Runco, rotisserie cooker. Canning is not a set it and forget it process. Even if you're using an Instapot to can, you should still be there to keep an eye on it, because malfunctions happen.
Right.
Granted, the Instapot is not going to be deadly in malfunctions, but malfunctions do happen. So you should always be present when you're cooking. Ladies, have any other questions? Okay.
I know what I'm adding to my wish list. Give me a moment. Because I found one on Amazon. 23 quart, 124.
That ain't bad. I think I saw one at HEB. They were having a sale on them. Of course, it's also coming into tamale season in Texas, so they also had their tamale pans.
Just real quick, speaking of tamales, every year in November, my daughter makes tamales. Okay, we're white. We are like, hello, Irish. Everyone at my daughter's work is like, so when are you gonna make your tamales again? She's like, it's not even November yet, guys. Every single person.
I want to learn to make them.
Huh?
I want to learn to make tamales.
Dude, she makes tamales. I mean, I like tamales. I think they're good. But hers, like, she legit could make a business out of it. Everyone's like, you know how to make tamales? She's like, yes. And she makes the best Mexican rice and beans that I have tasted anywhere, even at a Mexican restaurant.
call the business Gringas Tamales.
It's so funny. Oh my God. So yeah, everyone's like, so when are you gonna make your tamales? She's like, dude, this is October. I'm like, you should start your list now, have them prepay for it, so you can go ahead and go buy all the stuff as soon as you start making it. Yep. Even the newbies are like, nah, they can't be that good. One of her
And
coworkers
they
is
have
like,
one.
dude, her tamales are better than my abuela's. Ooh, don't let your abuela hear that.
Oh,
Or
no.
the tia.
I'm like, oh, but yeah. So she has a really nice pot for hers. And I was like, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that, I
I'll
think
have to
that
check
wraps
later.
it up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can email agrarian@guildsofrequiem.com. It does come into a central one, but I'll forward it out to who needs to hear it. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.